Often you know people by their face more than their names anyway, don't you?
Morning.
Hi.
Morning, everybody. I'm just letting a few more in.
Good morning.
One's very prompt this morning, which is nice.
So I just want to send my quick apologies just in case it happens. I'm covering the office this morning. So if the phone rings and stuff, I may well have to like turn the camera off and sort and kind of come back again.
Okay, no problem, Rosa, that's fine. I think we've got a fair few in now, so I'll make a start of introductions and things. So yeah, welcome. Thank you everybody for joining us for the Marketing Sector Focus with kindly sponsored by Pam at Pam Knight Marketing. So what I thought we'd do, it's a relatively small group. So if we go around the room and do some introductions, just quick introductions from everybody, and then we'll hand over to Pam. I am recording this, so I can send the link to the recording after the event as well. I will also, Pam's happy for me to share slides after the event. If you don't want your details shared, if you just put a quick note in the chat, but if we don't have any notes in the chat, I'll share the delegate list from today as well. So that's all from me, I think. So if we start going around the room, and I'll let anybody else in as they arrive. We'll start with you, Jen, because you're next on my screen. I think everyone knows you, but
Jen Somerset Chamber of Commerce, head up membership and Kickstart scheme.
That was quick. Rosa?
Hi there, it's Rosa from Ocean Fire and Security, installing fire alarm security systems all in the southwest. And as predicted, there goes my phone. You too.
Lovely, thanks, Rosa. Harriet?
Yeah, I'm Harriet. I'm from Lendology. I'm the communications lead and a loans advisor. We're a not-for-profit social enterprise lender, lending council funds to homeowners.
Lovely, thank you. Alex?
Hi there, everyone. So Alex Jones, I work for a small company called Air Seal Products. They sell tyre sealant, based out in Wellington.
Lovely, thank you. Bethan? Oh, we can't hear you, Bethan. You're not on mute, I don't think, but we just can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes.
What that was about. I work for a company called NRL. We do recruitment, predominantly engineering, things like nuclear construction. We also do non-destructive testing on nuclear power stations, such as Hinkley Point C.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Sally?
Hello, yes, I'm Sally Williams. I run my own office training and consultancy. That's Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, etc. And I'm still doing a lot of training, but mainly online now rather than in the classroom. But hopefully one of these days I'll get back into the classroom as well.
Fingers crossed. Thank you. George?
Where's Paul? Sorry, I always have this problem.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, my son used to share the same computer. I don't seem to be able to get rid of him once I come out my VPN, so apologies. I'm Paul from SDS. We are Southwest Systems. We are printers, copiers, scanners, and all the related software, which is growing by the day, and that goes with trying to manage print and reduce costs.
Brilliant, thanks, Paul. I've changed your name on there now.
Thank you.
So.
I need to learn how to do it myself, I think, do you?
Did you say me?
Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Candice Campbell. I'm the Marketing and Events Manager for Action Coach Ilminster. We are business coach. Well, I'm not a business coach. I'm the Marketing Events Manager, but I work for a business coach. And yeah, that's what we do, business coaching. Nice to meet you all.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Tony? Oh, you're on mute, Tony.
Ah, there we go. I'm Tony Hayman. I work at Western Providence Association, WPA, on the website team.
Great, thank you. Joe?
Hi all. I'm the second WPA delegate here today, and not very sophisticated. I haven't got my company name next to my name, so I apologise for the lack of Zoom skills. But yeah, I'm with Tony and with Rich as well, representing WPA.
Okay, I was going to come to Rich next if you've got anything to add.
No, just what these guys have said, other than my camera's not working.
Okay.
On my part, but yeah, also work for WPA.
Great, thank you, Rich. Andrew? Andrew Shepherd? I'm not sure if Andrew's there. We'll go to the next one, although I'm not sure who the next one is. ZMAM, I'm not sure who that is. Can you? You there? Maybe he might make an appearance a bit later. Andrew, are you there or?
Yeah, apologies, that my Zoom just froze up.
No problem.
Hi, yeah, I'm Andrew. I am the studio manager for a company called Sonovision. We are sort of a global supporting company for a lot of engineering and sort of manufacturing companies. We provide a lot of documentation, documentation, but I head the design studio, so we're in the process of developing a new global website for the company. So I'm going to be sitting here back in the background quietly because I've had a lot of jobs come through this morning, so I need to sort of manage the two at the moment. So.
No problem. Thank you, Andrew. Have you got a colleague with you? Because I think there was two of you booked on.
Yeah, Angela's here as well. Again, she's on a rush job as well, so she'll be sitting in sort of quiet in the background.
Brilliant. No problem. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Yep. Okay, so I will hand over to you, Pam, who's going to talk about SEO.
Hiya. Well, as I said to Laura and Jen earlier, I'm going to apologise for the amount of stuff I'm not going to be able to cover in just 15 minutes because it's a massive topic and so much has changed recently in the world of SEO that I've had to prioritise it. So I picked 5 points that I think that most people can do and hopefully know where to start on it all, because I think the really important thing for SEO is that if you're not doing anything about it, you don't know anything about it, then you are missing a huge trick at the moment. So this is the stuff I hope that makes a difference. At the end, I'll stick into chat any questions you've got, because I'm going to literally whiz on through this. And there's going to be some things that you might have in your head that I haven't covered. Ask away, because if I get the opportunity, I will answer you, okay? So these are the topics that I'm going to cover. I'm going to look at what is SEO, on-page and technical, why are SERPs so important now, and these are what we classify as SERPs, which is search engine ranking pages. Backlinks, what do they really mean to you? Site loading speed, why and what you can do to reduce time, and this is massive. I'm going to talk to you about this later because Google have just launched a new algorithm that works on user experience and they are focusing down hard on this. And trust signals, which are much more about how to make people really feel safe on the website with you. So kicking off with search engine optimization, on page and technical. So index and crawlability is kind of really fairly obvious, but it's about how easy is your website to crawl if you're a search engine coming up to it. I've come across many sites when we're doing the audits that literally don't have any information that tell the search engines what it is that they are allowed to crawl and not allowed to crawl, and what pages are linked. They don't have sitemaps. They don't have a little file called robot text which tells them what they can't do. So literally you can end up with a right mishmash, and you're also making it very difficult for the search engines to decide what pages link to what, because if the hierarchy of the website isn't right, then actually they're not flowing. And the interesting thing about Google and Bing is that they get, we call it crawl juice, and it's about how much they will do on your website before they get fed up and go away. So basically, they come back on regular occasions. So you'll have, if you've got changes on your website and you do the changes very often, then they'll come back more often because they'll notice that you're an active website and that there's something really worthwhile them doing. So for argument's sake, if you do a change a month on your website, then probably Google will sort it out in its head and it'll come back once a month and re-index you. If, for argument's sake, you haven't touched your website in a year, that's going to be longer. And all the while it's longer, your competition is going up because they might be doing better than you on that front. So bear in mind that that's one of the things that you need to look at. That's about generating new copy and making copy pertinent, or even editing what you've got to make it more pertinent. You can resubmit your site to the search engines. Both Bing and Google have got areas that you can go to and prompt them to do that as well. If they haven't done it for a while, then it's worth doing it. And you can find out when they last indexed you through something called Google Search Console. Okay, and Bing has the same under its Webmaster Tools. So that even took longer than I thought it was going to be. So I'll get on to the next bit. Little things like redirects. Now, a lot of people have got www versions of their website and non-www versions of their website, and they haven't what they call reconcile it. And now this is supposed to be done at server side, but it means that what you're getting, as far as the search engines are concerned, are two issues of the same website. And they don't like that because they don't know which one to focus on. So you really need to do this because they will down rank you again because of that. Links in this instant mean whether or not you've got links that are broken on your page. So if you've got lots of broken links in your website, it tells the search engine that you don't care. You're not looking at it often enough. You're not updating it. For instance, I had a quick look at mine earlier, and I've got 3 broken links on my website, and they're links to other sites that have changed significantly since I put them up there on my website maybe a couple of years ago. So I need to go back in there and change those so that they're not going to 404 pages. And for those of you that don't know what 404 pages, they're the ones that says, oops, you've got a broken link. Okay. So that's an important one. Images I'm going to come back to later as well, because there's matters around that, as I indicated with the Google algorithm. And that's on about site speed and things like that. On page, including title tags, meta descriptions, and SEO titles. So these are the bits, when you go to a search engine and you type in your query in the top, so the pages come out in a long line. And so what we've got on those pages are the meta descriptions, which is the longer description about what that page is and says. The SEO titles, which are the bits that you're really trying to sell to the client about what that page means. So for instance, in my page, it might be SEO optimization as a title. If people had put in SEO optimization, then I'd be a fair chance that they'd look at me because I've got that. I'd have also described what that might mean in the meta description. The title tags are the actual name of the URL. And it's always advisable to make sure that you've got those right and that you haven't got one of the, do you remember, I don't know if you can remember finding websites where you've gone to them, they look okay, and then you look at the SEO, the URL on it, and they're full of characters and exclamation marks and things that look vaguely suspicious. So that's what you've got to avoid, basically, because this is the bit where you're first building trust with people. You're first saying, this is my open shop, come in and visit me. So title tags and things like that are really important. So don't let your website generate what they call canonical URLs, which are these weird, wonderful things with question marks and page numbers and all that over it. So that's that. Now, technical and encoding factors, this I'm going to come back to a bit later as well, because there's lots of different things around that that can make a huge, significant difference to whether or not your site is behaving nicely as far as the search engines are concerned. So I mentioned about the site loading speed and what you can do to reduce it. The optimized level really is 3 seconds. Okay, that's about as much as we can take. We're very bored nowadays. We get to the point where we just think, actually, you know what, that's taking too long. We'll go on to the next one. So be wary, especially on mobiles now, that when you're being ranked, and you are only being ranked on your mobile now, whether you realize that or not, as far as Google is concerned. I'll be honest, I don't know what Bing is doing because they're much more lenient on their search engine priority stuff. But Google actually only ranks you now on what your mobile site is performing like. So it doesn't matter how beautiful your desktop is, apart from the fact that it makes you feel a lot better if it looks that way and it's flowing nicely and all the rest of it. You know, pick up your phone and check his site on this, because you'd be surprised. I mean, I did an audit on a website the other day, and they said they can't understand why they never get any response from anybody using a mobile phone. It was quite simple. They forgot to put the navigation on it on the phone, and they hadn't looked at their website on the phone. So it's little things like that that are what we call the bleeding obvious, that are so easy to miss because you're actually dealing with the whole of the website structure, that you're not actually thinking about the minutiae very often. So that sort of thing's important. Now, there's a massive amount of server-side issues that could go wrong with speed. I'm just going to flick off of this actually a minute and just, she says, try to get everything on right. Because this is the latest algorithm that's been added on page speed. These are the criteria, and I counted 30 in the new Google algorithm. And you'll look at these and you'll look at them and say, what do half of these mean? And to an ordinary marketing person, an ordinary marketing company, this is gobbledygook. So you're not alone, okay? There's a massive amount there that are server-side. And that means that you need a really good developer on hand that can actually look at some of this stuff and work with it and make sure that you've got all your images compressed. That's the easy bit. That you've got things like these things are massive. Now, what I might do actually, Laura, is send a list out to you afterwards, because there's just too much to go through here. But you can see how technical these things are, and this has all been included in the last algorithm. You can see that they've really upped the ante on this, and a lot of companies have already, if they're registered with Google Search Console, which is free to do, and you should do it if you've got Google Analytics on your site, which I would absolutely recommend. Then Google Search Console, you add the property to the Search Console, and then you get all sorts of information come up about this. And it will also send you alerts when it's recognizing something's not quite right with your site. Now, they've started to up the ante on this now. They've including schema and things like that in as well, which is causing all sorts of chaos, because a lot of people have got schema on their site, but they don't know how they're using it, or they haven't filling it in properly, and so they're getting returned with lots of that. I can't go into schema right now because it is a nightmare, and there are just so many things around that. But it's all part of this new way of Google measuring your website. So, image sizes, really, really important with image sizes, that you don't take it for granted that the compression software that you've got actually fitted on your website is going to do a good enough job, but that you actually send the right size up to the website in the first place. So you're looking at optimizing the size of the image and sending it up at the right pixel width. So make sure you know what those are, because there's no point in sending an image up that is 2000 pixels wide if actually it's going to go into a little space that's a tiny box and you actually only require 150 by 150. All you're doing is loading up your page to make it a bigger page, which makes the speed of the page much lower. The other figure I haven't got on here is that the page sizes shouldn't really measure above 3 megabytes. Now, 3 megabytes on a website page is actually quite a lot, because if you've optimized your images quite well, then actually they shouldn't be much more above, 50, 60 kilobytes each anyway. So to get up to 3 megabytes means you've got quite a lot of imagery on there and other bits and pieces that can cause that. So these particular links, and they'll come out obviously with the slides as well, are what Google uses. This one's what Google uses to decide, it's called Page Speed Insights, exactly how they are going to look at your website. And you can look at it from mobile and from desktop perspective as well. And it will give you what it thinks your grading is. And then it'll also give you a list of things which you've just seen some of on that thing that you might want to consider, or at least speak to your developer about sorting out. And I apologize to any developers in the room that I've just given them an extra headache. Okay. The link below is gtmetrics.com. It's just an industry standard one. It's a very simple one. It will give you a complete audit of your website. It will give you a grade, A to F. I don't think it goes above F, but F is pretty bad. And if you've got that, then you need to be looking at what it is that you need to make your website load faster and more effectively from the server side. So SERPs, this is an interesting thing, SERPs. they've become incredibly important. They're search engine result pages. Now, this is what they look like in real terms. You've probably all seen them. They're at the top of the indexing on Google, particularly. You also get them on Bing, and they come in all shapes and sizes. So some of them are what we call local knowledge packs, which is this. And this will be where you might put in marketing services near me, and it'll pull out everyone that's within those areas and give you where they are, take you to their website, give you directions. You might have put in a question. So I put in digital marketing agencies, and this is what I got: how to choose the best digital marketing agency. So somebody came up with an answer to this question. Now, if you can get into these are really incredibly valuable because they're a trust thing. People look at them and they say, wow, you know, all this information is free to go to. I'm not having to go onto someone's website and actually say, where is it on here? The information has been extrapolated by the search engines and put up there for you. So it saves you a lot of time. Now, most people start their searches without even thinking about it unless they know which company they're going for in here. So in your blogs and on your pages, answer questions. Start thinking about the things that people might ask that would drive them to you, and then create that content, because you could end up on there, and that's incredibly valuable. This sort of thing, I asked, what's the marketing mix like? And you get this up. And sometimes in here, you might also get a YouTube video, you know, and the dictionary came up with the dictionary one, which is also up there, comes up there. None of these things, they're called no clickable search results because they're not necessarily clicking through to your website initially, but they're getting the information they want, and you're building up the trust, and they're getting search engine recognition on the back of this. So although it's hard because you feel like everyone should be driving straight back to your website, they may well be picking up the phone to you anyway, but you can't see it on your analytics that way. But you can see it through your Search Console, because Google will send out every month, if you're registered with the Search Console, an indication of how much traffic has come via this way. And you'd be surprised the size of it. It's really significant nowadays. And marketers like me are having real trouble working out the best way of actually reporting that to our clients, because it's one of those things where we're trusting the likes of Facebook and the likes of Google and Bing to be truthful about this. And we all know that certain ones of those platforms have got not a brilliant experience of that. So, you know, there are some interesting things around that particular one. And it is worth considering, if you're going to put content on your website, that you look at thinking about how can I make it so that it would appear here. It's a freebie advert, if you like. It comes above everything. You know, just below the AdWords where people are spending a fortune, you get something that's bright and breezy and really says this is a trust thing. So it's well worth looking at that front. Backlinks. Backlinks are an interesting one because I have a lot of clients that say, oh, I need to increase my backlinks. And I will always say to them, no, you need to increase your quality backlinks, because there is a penalty count and a penalty risk against having the wrong backlinks against you. And believe me, I've had to extrapolate clients from this situation where they bought into a service where the backlinks were bought, and they ended up with porn sites and all sorts on the back of their backlinks. And of course, they were immediately downgraded. And we had to then go back and disavow all those backlinks so that they weren't associated with that website. And that was quite a lot of work to do. And all because they were really ambitious about getting their site right up there. Backlinks are links that come back from any other website to you. And they can come back in two ways. They can be what they call a do follow link, which means that the do follow link is allowing the search engine to go through that backlink into your website because they want to be associated with you. So that's what they call a trust link. And the other is a no follow link, which, although is less trustworthy because they don't want you to follow, it sometimes means they just don't want to take you off the page. It's still a backlink and it's still registered as one. It's not quite so high up the list, but it's still there. So that's one of the things to watch out for. I always say things like, I know, here we are, I'm going to flatter you now. The Chamber, people like that, they are quality backlinks. Everybody knows that they're bona fide and that they are business backlinks. If you're a member of any association or affiliation, so I'm, Chartered Institute of Marketing, a backlink from them counts because I'm a marketing company and the search engines understand that, you know. So anything that you're affiliated to, anything that I write articles very often for other people, and they'll put backlink into my website for me. And so that's another thing. So that's an article that is pertinent to the business that I have, that is relating back to my website. So all these things are quite important, but make sure they're quality, because quality does count above quantity in this instance. Yeah, covered that one. Okay. There are ways that you can check this out, and I will actually show you a particular piece of software that I use. But you can put all of this into Google, and there's 100 bits of software out there. The one I use I like because it interlinks all of the various strands that I've spoken about today. And obviously I've got an agency license, so I can record it, but you can get a free version that will just do the checks for you. You won't be able to save it, but you will be able to gain the knowledge that you needed in the first instance to know whether there's action required. I think that's quite important. And the last one we were talking about was trust signals. How am I doing on time, Laura? Okay, good. Trust signals. Okay, so what does it mean and what's the differences make? And I spoke to you about these sort of things. So this often appears in the knowledge thing where you go into what they call the local pack, where this is where your Google reviews will appear. And this is, for instance, to be a store, this one. So it'll have appeared in the long string at the top of shopping things at the top of the web, the search engine. And anything where you see this sort of thing, you know that it's independent. So it might be Trustpilot, it might be Checkatrade, anything like that, where you're getting some sort of accreditation back to your website. And very often you can put a piece of code on your website that will just bring that accreditation into it so other people can see it. Just recently, we've upgraded May's website, May's restaurant website in Taunton. And if you go onto their reviews page, that's a piece of coding that we put on there that pulls in all of their reviews from Facebook, Trustpilot, and Google. Not Trustpilot, TripAdvisor. And so it's completely transparent. There is no cheating it. It says it as it is. So if you get a bad review, you've got to answer that review. But it actually means that other people take trust in what you're actually saying and look around it. And that, for me, is quite an important factor for most. And I know that that brings business to people. Affiliations with organisations. So this is on the bottom of my website, for instance. And these are the organisations that I like to have affiliated to my website. And as you can see, they're all trusted boards, really. And then there's this one, which I just picked off for another website, which explains to you, how people are verified and things like that. So if you're into a business where you have to be particularly verified, maybe health and safety, something like that, then to make sure that you've got the verification logos up there for the governing bodies is quite important, because people will be looking for those. Gas safe, for instance, the plumbers, those sort of things. And of course, the last but not least are things like Facebook reviews and recommendations, because they actually also get pulled up into your Google Knowledge and Maps, Google My Business section. And they are counted towards your accreditation. And I think that all of those things are really quite important in making and building the trust. I always think of a website it's a bit like the shopping in the window, isn't it? It's having a look through the window and deciding whether or not to go through the door. And the important thing is to build that trust before people pick up the phone. And I tend to do that with things like blogs and things like that, where they've actually the blog's been used as the SEO juice, if you like, where they've been pulled into it. But actually, once they get there, they then start learning about the organisation. Once they learn about the organisation, they feel confident enough to pick up the phone. And I think that's really what SEO is trying to do for you, really, getting people to you. And that is that. The software that I mentioned is, and I'll shove this into chat for you now. This is a link. As I said, there are free versions. So, and I'll stop sharing that now. But as I say, Google anything, and there's plenty out there. Absolutely plenty.
Oh, thank you, Pam. That was impressive. A lot of information in 15 minutes and a topic. Yeah. I think Jen's got a question, so we'll perhaps start with Jen. I think you put one in the chat.
I want anyone earlier was about broken links. Is there a tool to identify all the broken links on your website?
That will do it. The one I just
will do it.
has got something called a SEO spyglass, and but there are others, of course. I mean, Moz and all that type of people do it as well. There's quite a few out there, but a lot of them are quite more expensive than others. But that'll completely give you a complete breakdown of not only what links are broken, but what they're broken and where you can find them on the page. Because sometimes you hear about a broken link, and I've got to find it amongst the text. You know, which text, which link is it? So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want to ask anything? I know it's a massive topic, but I'm sure Pam's happy to answer. If you want to
Did that what makes sense? Was there anything that anybody would like to talk more about?
Wow. I think you've stunned everyone. I've
never done this before.
I say it's amazing.
To the point where nobody's got anything, yeah.
I will just ask, you said about the importance of title tags, just the importance of your H1, H2 and H3 tags as well. Are they still a big indicator for the search engine optimization?
Thank you for giving me that intro, actually, because that's so important. Yeah, okay, so under when we talk about on-page SEO, it's a whole raft of things, you know, and it is about getting things in the right quantity, in the right order, in the right places. So H1 is normally the title of the page, usually. H2 is the most important header you've got on that page. So it'll be, and you must get your keywords in those head twos, because the next place they need to be in is the first paragraph of your page. And the interesting thing is, and back to what I've just sent you with the link on that software, there is a page auditing stuff which will break down everything that tells you exactly where you could make amendments and improvements on those particular pages. Now, it can be about, what a lot of people don't realize is that you can have optimized your website page that day perfectly. Your competitor puts a new page up, and Google does this thing with it, and it looks at it, because it's all about comparisons as far as the search engines are concerned. So they're comparing you to what they think is your competitor, not what you think. It's very often completely different, because it's how they recognize it. It doesn't matter if, you know, I've got a company down the road that does marketing, I think they're competitor. No, actually, I'm not necessarily, not as far as the search engine is concerned. It's what pages are optimized for those keywords, and how important am I on those search engines for that. So, and I know I will get returned above them no matter what if I've got that right. If, however, they do a better job than me, I will go down. And then I need to reevaluate that. And then I need to go back to look at the balance. So it might be about how many times I've used particular keywords on that page, and now Google thinks I'm stuffing them. I put too much in. Or it could be that actually I haven't put it in enough times, and they think that it should be in more time. So there's a balance that you have to do with keyword optimization. And it's certainly to do with your meta descriptions, your title tags, your page contents, you know, and links back to and from. Internal links in a website are really important, because they tell the search engines where they should be going from one link to another. And so breadcrumbs are very popular, which is ironic, because although Google actually pushes for breadcrumbs, you often lose them on the mobile anyway. So, you know, it's not perfect by any means. But the structure of the website becomes much more transparent if within your page you are linking from one to another. Now, there's lots of tools you can use to do this as well. For those of you that are building on WordPress, there's two very good tools. And one of those is called Yoast, and the other one is called Rank Math. Now, Rank Math was an unknown for a few years, until a few years ago, and it's really come up. And the freebie version of Rank Math is almost as good as the pro version of Yoast. And that includes covering schema. It includes giving you a traffic light. With Yoast, it's a traffic light reading on how well you're doing on your SEO. And on Rank Math, it's a score out of 100. And what it will then do is give you hints and tips on what you're not doing. So if you're sitting there with a WordPress site and you haven't got this installed, I recommend doing it. You'll see immediately the sort of things that you need to do. and you'll learn a lot by it. Same with images. I mean, if you're not putting alt text on images, then actually you're not giving the search engine. I mean, Google's clever, you know, it's got a page and it can guess what a lot of things are. And you know, there are functions within Google that can scan a photograph and know what that photograph is, but not in a website it can't. So you need to tell it the context, because if you've got an image in there for a reason, then use it. So reinforce your keywords with the alt text on there as well. And it's just a bit of coding that says to the search engine, this is what this photograph means. So, you know, if I was putting one on for argument's sake, if I was putting a page up for me on search engine optimization, and I was putting a page up that explained knowledge boxes, I'd actually call the picture a knowledge box. So it's almost been bleeding obvious about the whole thing, really, and assuming that you're talking to a 4-year-old. Because although I think Google's language has now gone up to a 6, I do think it's still pretty much there. Another thing on text and content on page. Page content has got a readability score in most things, and they don't believe your readability score should be very high. So they want really short sentences, and they want, you know, I'm brilliant at writing greatly punctuated sentences with loads of commas, semicolons, and all the rest of it. But actually, that's not going to rank. I need to say short and sharp, in really short, sharp sentences, what I mean to say, and I mean to say it succinctly in a way that is still readable for human beings. So in both of those things that I gave you just now, if you're on WordPress, there is that thing. There are other, if you want to pump into Google readability scores, there are other metrics that you can use for other websites, and it will tell you what yours is. It's on a page-by-page basis, so you know, if you've got a big site, good luck. It's not easy, but pick your main ones and the ones that you want to fight with, really.
That's interesting.
All that have an H1 heading.
It's not something you'd automatically think, oh, short sentences would be, you know, you probably think the opposite. Well, I would anyway, I think.
Yeah, no, it's I can't remember it's something like a readability score. They don't want you above the age of 12 or something like that. They want everybody to understand it.
Mm.
And I think when they're converting sites and translating it from one language to another, it's easier if you haven't been too ticky. And it's the same with the volume of content on a page. You know, ideally they want over 300 words. That isn't always practical. You know, if you think about the way that you're building a website, sometimes you've got one page that actually hasn't got a massive. I don't necessarily know I want 300 words about me, you know, but it does, and that's because it's trying to gauge the quality of the content out of it, and the more it's got on there, the more it is easy to establish what it is that this page means to it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got anything sort of specific that they're trying to do on their site, or Pam might be able to help with? If not, I've got a question.
Cool. If not, I've got one as well, so you go first.
Well, I was just going to ask about if people are using AdWords for advertising, whether that affects your SEO score for just your website appearing on Google rather than the AdWords.
Yeah, the arguments are on that one, I think. Certainly it will increase your visibility. When you go into your Google Analytics, it will show that you've had X amount of traffic from the search, paid search, as opposed to anything. But I actually don't think it does an awful lot more than that, if I'm honest. I think that they treat it very differently, and that they're not going to try and up your ranking in case you drop off the AdWords. You know, they are in it for the money, let's be honest. And, you know, they're not doing it for the goodness of their heart. They're doing it because they're making money out of us. And they're also very dictative about how we perform nowadays and what we do. I mean, if I think about things that changed in websites since I've been doing them years ago, it's absolutely scary about how dictated to we are. I mean, have any of you been into a search console before and seen what it looks like? Okay, so hang on a second. No, I won't pull it out now because it'll take too long. But by all means, go look up Google Search Console, register your website in there. Okay, if you've got Google Analytics on your sites, you authorize it through your analytics. And with it, it'll tell you exactly the last time you were indexed, and you can ask it to re-index you if you haven't been indexed recently or at all in some cases. It's surprising how many times we found that where, because they haven't got a sitemap, they're waiting for something to happen miraculously, and their website hasn't produced an XML sitemap, it's called. So it's not just a sitemap as in the old-fashioned way where you had a list of pages on the website. It's actually a specific file that creates this. And once you've got that and it's uplifted into Bing, and don't forget Bing, because Bing, I'm just going to quickly touch on Bing. You know, we've got Google My Business for Business in Google. There is a Bing business as well, Bing for Business. And once you register with Bing, because nobody takes them quite as seriously as with Google, they love you. So you will rank highly. And don't forget that Bing feeds 20% of the search engine stuff. Bing feeds Siri. And a lot of people don't know that. Bing also feeds Microsoft Edge. So if you're working off of Windows 10, then the search that you're getting, the search results you're getting when you go in there, it's Bing. So, you know, don't underestimate the power of Bing. It's still there. And actually, it's easier to make friends with than it is Google. And if you've already got a Google My Business profile, which you've set up, Bing will just strip it out and use it. So you haven't got to do it twice. So, you know, it's worth doing it in that order because it makes a huge difference. And then you get the same sort of box up on Bing that you get up when you go into Google. And that wasn't where we started. Can you remind me of the question again?
No, I was just asking about AdWords, but actually that's quite interesting because I wouldn't have expected, I wouldn't have even thought about Bing, which I think a lot of people, they just say Google, don't they, and go into Google.
I've not used Bing for years and years and years. It's just that you automatically go to Google, don't you?
Yeah, and the other interesting thing is I think it's a demographic thing. So if you're actually looking for a certain age group demographically, and I'm not, I can say this because I'm that age group, you know, they go automatically to the default programs on Windows. They set up their computer, they put their computer on, and the default browser is Edge. It used to be Microsoft Internet Explorer, as we know. And Edge's default search engine is Bing. So if you're somebody that isn't particularly IT literate and just wants to run with it, you know, take the easy option of finding what you want to find, then you're probably using Bing. And the other thing from a marketing perspective is that Bing has a higher trust rate than Google, because the interesting thing is that people clicking through on a Bing result tend to follow it through more than they do on the Google. Now that might be the age group, might be the demographic type of person that's using that, you know, as opposed to Chrome. But it's a proven fact in market research that we've done on this sort of thing. So if you're looking for an older age demographic or somebody who's incredibly loyal or easy to just deal with, then go Bing. It's worth a shot. I mean, certainly at WPA, I would nurture Bing because of what you're looking for, you know.
Pam, with regards to content, it used to be a case of photos at one stage. It used to be then a case of updating any page to get you ranking. Then it went over to making sure there's a blog every now and again. If you update that, then you're going to be ranking. What is it nowadays? Is it a total overall? Is it being like blogs? What brings that ranking up? Is there one thing that you'd say if you're not doing anything else on your website, make sure there's a regular blog and that will help? Is there anything like that nowadays, or is it just a?
It's a bit of both. Yeah, it's a bit of both. So I would definitely say optimize your web pages for the right words that are the basic structure. So for argument's sake, if you went onto mine and you were looking for marketing services, then I'll have a whole section and each one of those pages will be optimized for that particular set of keywords that I want. Also, the other thing I would say is don't assume that the keywords that you want to rank on are the keywords that you're ever going to get returned on, because it may be that those searches are not happening. Back to what I was showing you about the knowledge boxes, how people are searching now is very different to the way they were even a few years ago. We're going to them to answer questions we've got. That more often than not, they punch in a question than they do, you know, I don't know, garage near me. You know, it's not, they're wanting a specific thing. So the string is quite long now. So you need to be, in fact, this is me sending you back to Search Console again. Search Console will tell you categorically what it is that they have returned you on in the last 30 days. So you will be able to see the amount of opportunities you've had to be, that where they put you up there to be viewed, how many people have clicked through on that, okay, and how many times you've missed it. And that could be because your meta description or your descriptions aren't inviting enough, or you haven't got quite the right thing in there to say, because don't forget that meta description in there is like the bit that says, that's what I'm looking for. That's the magic piece that answers my question, you know? So most people, they just put a whole pile of rubbish in about, you know, and sometimes it's the same on every page. That doesn't help people buy from you, you know, and this is what we're talking about. So optimize the webs. Then the ones that you can't cover, because you cannot cover everything on your website unless your website's phenomenally large, like Amazon, then we'll be talking about creating the content in blogs. And the blogs, what we're talking about, back to the old inbound marketing stuff. So very often you'll be pushing the blogs out via social media, pushing out LinkedIn, you'll be, you know, possibly even co-writing them with somebody else so that you get mentions on their websites. And all that does is pull people back in to you that way. But it also gives you that other opportunity to submit to the search engines and maybe articles that aren't mainstream that will return you for something that is mainstream for you. And also you can write longer content on a blog. So they like about 600 words on those. And it's really important, once again, as Tony mentioned, to get those things in the right order with the SEO on page stuff, so that you're making sure that you're really getting some heavyweight punch to it. I can remember we did a blog, oh God, years. Do you remember when we all had to go through the pension staging dates, stuff like that? It was all pretty scary for a lot of us. And I was working with a company that was helping people that missed their staging date. So we'd literally put a blog in, missed staging date, you know, and that went to #1 immediately because no one else would use those phrases. And there are 100 people all over the place, hundreds of people, their staging date, you know, and they put in, what happens if we miss that staging date, you know? And so the blog got pulled up. And it was pure luck that we got that right in that respect, because we didn't know that that was going to be the phrase that everybody used, but we were taking a good punt on it and it worked.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else got anything else they want to say?
You might have already answered this. Sorry. First of all, I've got to explain to you why I've been moving around. I'm unfortunately, she's just gone off to sleep, but she's been charging around, making a terrible noise and everything. So I have been distracted. So apologies.
It's
okay.
My
daughter's here now, so I'm now going to pass her over to my daughter. Say bye, Lara. Say bye. And I'm just, when I'm looking at websites, I find that a lot, not ours, but other people's are trying to be a bit arty and clever, I suppose, if you like, but they're hiding from the front page exactly what they do. Is that to make Google search deeper into their website, or is it just something that is a myth and doesn't work?
It doesn't work. I think a lot of people, if you're not, I've mentioned it before, the bleeding obvious, you know, you are talking to an algorithm here, you know, you have to make it easy for it. A lot of people, when they do the arty type stuff and, you know, the avant-garde, I'm always gobsmacked by marketing agencies that do it. I think, don't you know anything? Honestly, because they are the worst offenders, you know, they very often go completely off the rails with making it look really funky and look how wonderfully, you know, smart we are. It tells the agents nothing. And then I look at what their performance is like. It's not great.
Right.
And a lot of people, I think I was talking to Laura and Jen earlier before all of this. Years ago, I was in advertising, donkeys years ago, when the days when yellow pages and all the rest of it was all we needed, you know, yellow pages and an advert, the Gazette. And I think the interesting thing was if we ran a feature or got in a number of particular trades into a feature, every other trade would jump into it the next week because they all thought they were missing out. And this is what you need to avoid doing with websites. The trend is not necessarily the right thing. It's evidence-based. You need to be evidence-based. So having a really funky, slightly off-the-wall website isn't helping a customer that arrives on that page at all. Does that answer your question, Paul?
Sorry. Yes, it does. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Any others? I think we've covered a huge huge amount of stuff this morning, Pam. So thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. If anybody does think of anything, just feel free to email me back from the follow-up email. We can pass anything on to Pam, but I will put your details anyway, Pam, in the email.
Yeah, and if there's any questions about how you can find out some of this information that you can't find on the SEO Power Suite or anything like that, and that's just one, you know, like I talked about page speed metrics and things like that, they're all there out there. And to do it as you go along, especially if you're building a new website or something like that, is so much easier than to retrograde, pick up a website and fix it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, realizing how many errors you've got on that page of that particular website is scary, but doing it along as you go along, it's just so much easier.
Okay, thank you. I'll just mention a couple of events we've got coming up if anybody is interested, considering we're on a marketing sort of type event. We have got a workshop next week with Richie from Connectable on a very, well, not similar topic, making your website work better for you, but he's going to be concentrating on when people are actually on your website. So that side of it. We've also got Jen's Cuppa and Catch Up informal networking every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And if you go on to the website, we've also got another one. I don't know, you know, where people would be the right people on this call, but we've had this a lot with questions from members, an event called, well, we call it Challenges Faced by Employers Due to Changing Workplace Environments After Lockdown. So that's quite an interesting one. That's a free webinar. So if anybody's looking at whether you're going to go back to the office or not, or a bit of both, that would be for you. But thank you for attending this morning. Thank you so much, Pam. And yeah, any questions today afterwards, just let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See everybody.
Thanks, Pam. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.